We'd like to give a special shout out to the following people for making this episode and the rest of Act 3 possible: Louis, Malaya, Reg, Daniel Athern, Osterkim, Vanna, Finch, Dr. Dan Venning, Sleepless Berry, Court, Rogue Canoe, John and Muna, Sadie, Zay the Great, Elliot Kane, and Trident. Thank you for your support. Maraming salamat.
You're listening to Hainai by Matsi Dapul. Episode 86, Arkanghel. His name did not matter as much as his purpose, so he might as well have forgotten it, if it wasn't the first thing he heard. After a long, seemingly endless silence that he took to be the afterlife. It was too peaceful an afterlife for him, but the isolation, the lonely quiet, felt deserved. He tried to serve the God that saved him, so that he might do the same for his sister, bring her back to him in some way. For he knew that God of fire had such power over flame that perhaps he might undo what he did to Clara. But it was an empty hope, and he knew it when he met her. A true God, more powerful than even the God wreathed in fire that saved him so long ago. But even from their first meeting, he had already offended her. He yearned for penance, so that he could prove he was worthy of her blessings, but, well, for a while, he thought, if it was penance to be alone, he never realized how much he dreamt about Clara's voice until he could no longer hear it in this silence, until he could no longer sleep. All he was left with was his thoughts and the quiet lapping of river water. He didn't know how long it was before he heard a voice that was not his own, and a sound that was not the river. He looked into the rushing water and saw the vaguest of images, heard voices through the babble. He made sense of it all, eventually, and prayed to his God. He did not ask for forgiveness, for he knew he did not deserve it. But he could seek repentance. He asked to serve her, asked to do for her what must be done, asked her to make use of him. She refused him at first, Over and over she refused him. But to know she was listening, it was a blessing he did not take for granted. He worshipped her, prayed to her every day, head bowed and wishing only for penance. And one day, he looked up, and she stood there before him, as ordinary as he remembered, as godlike as he recalled. He knelt before her in supplication, begging to serve. She looked at him with what read to him as sadness, anger, and contempt. But more than all of these, she looked at him with resignation, as she imparted upon him a great blessing. A mission, she said. A trial. She would set him free, she said, out into the living world, if he was obedient, if he did well, and if he fulfilled his task to her satisfaction, she would let him pass freely into the afterlife, find his sister again, if she still waited for him. He touched his forehead to her feet and thanked her, and she held her hands out to him. Not to touch him, no, for he knew he did not deserve that, but to show him what she carried in her hands, empty palms filled with the shape of polished wood and metal in the blink of an eye. He took it carefully and realized she was giving him a weapon, new yet familiar, for he knew the weight of a well-balanced knife. He opened it to reveal the hidden blade within, and he couldn't help but give it a flourish, spin it upon his knuckles, before settling with his hand around the handle, which he secured with a flick of his thumb. It was beautiful. A butterfly knife, made of dark wood, shining steel, and an inlay of horn. It looked aged, yet new, and when he touched the edge, it cut him, bled him, which left him bemused, wondering how it was that a dead man could bleed. It was a weapon both ordinary and godlike, just like the god he now served. He held the blade flat to his heart and bowed, and when he looked up, she was almost smiling. She asked him how he knew, and he did not understand. She said that his greeting was quite traditional, miming his movement with a fist to her own heart. What ghost of a smile passed her expression fell away, and she told him grimly what she expected of him. He listened intently, wishing to serve her well, hoping he would not offend her again. She told him he would be a guardian at night when she took her rest, She told him he would be her eyes and her blade when she could not be there. It would be his penance, she said, to save others instead of sacrificing them. She imbued him with her own power, telling him to take her hand and touch the back of it to his forehead. When he touched her, he felt her power enter him in an ecstasy he had never truly experienced, not even with the God he once worshipped, who never found him again after the night he saved his life. He wept when he was alone, in the dark. Oh, how he loved his new God, though he knew she would hate him forever. How kind she was, how forgiving, to he who was too blind to see what she was when they first met. He did not question how he knew where to go and what to hunt. He felt the sick, lurching darkness of magic he had once tried to unlock. A terrible heresy, he knew now. And yet, he could not deny that his past sins prepared him for the important work he had to do now. In the darkness he stalked ordinary people, not for sacrifices, but knowing that a deeper darkness loomed over them that would, in time, consume them, just as it consumed his family long ago. He found a woman who was stalked by a creature that followed her rules until it didn't. A creature made of strange, wet viscera that was too inhuman to be blood, but looked just the same in the deep dark. It still bled the same in the end. Through the hand, through its eye, the blessed weapon cut through its neck well enough, and the thing bled black as he beheaded it. He didn't know how far he had to go to kill such a thing, so he went far indeed. He felt the horrible, roiling darkness fade away, the perpetually smiling face losing its vitality as he finally separated head from body. And just in case, he carried the head with him, after ensuring the woman it stalked was all right, unharmed, safe. As he walked, he felt it melt to nothingness in his hand, until it was all but gone, leaving nothing but black ash on his fingertips. When he returned to his God, she was sound asleep, alone this night, though not always. He tried to wash his hands out there after his kill, but the blackened marks did not wash away. He dared not touch her with unclean hands, so he sat at the foot of her bed and waited until she would let him return to the river. When she awoke, he told her of what happened, what he did, the thing that he killed. He showed her his hands, described the creature that had grown strong enough to break the rules it lived by. She looked at him pointedly when he said this. He did not remark on it, but he hoped she knew he did not abide by her simply because he was obliged to. He hoped she knew he was devoted to her, utterly. For years, he struggled to find the power that might reunite him with his sister, that might turn him into an archangel that could protect her after he failed so long ago. From a moment of weakness he could never come back from. He made sacrifices to a man he thought a god, perhaps not a false god, but one that did not care about him, whose single blessing he wasted, and who he never saw again. His new god had even less reason to heed him, and yet she did anyway, because she was kind. She granted him everything he had sought in his long years. She granted him the power to protect, a weapon in hand, granted him the right of intercessor, made him an archangel who destroyed demons by her leave, and allowed him to wash himself at the river, a place akin to Eden, at the edge of paradise, on the other side of what he knew was a peaceful afterlife. If he served her loyally, she would grant him passage there, reunite him with his sister, bless him with the mercy he did not yet deserve. As long as he served her loyally, as her archangel, her Michael, and as long as he protected her and those she loved. For there were those that wished her ill, enemies at the gate. And while he knew she would triumph in the end, there were simply things that were beneath her, that she ought not concern herself with. Grasping, desperate, foolish men with delusions of grandeur and godhood. One of them came to her one night, when she spent herself laying protection for others, a benevolent, caring God who spread herself thin, if only to further her sphere of influence and sense danger on a grander scale. That one thought she was vulnerable, alone. That one was not wise enough to look behind him when he cast a spell of dark, violent, roiling, sickly magic, and destroyed the pavement beneath her feet, and knocked down a streetlight behind her, sending cement debris flying across the intersection. Such a thing did not knock her down, but she was already so tired, so human for a god. It was an insult that this foolish, grasping, desperate man should challenge his god. It was an insult Michael met with a knife in that man's heart, then across his throat, sending him sprawling across the concrete, struggling to breathe. These men, these elders, thought they were immortal. They thought they were powerful. And yet, in the end, just like the nightmares they summoned, they bled the same. He knelt over the man, the elder, who was drowning in his own blood, and he slowly sliced through the sinew of his neck. Fingers grabbed weakly at his arms as he worked, but he ignored the movement until he was done, snapping skull from spine as he split the elder's head from his body. He was diligent in his task as he worked his knife into the elder's chest and found his grip enough to crack the man's ribs open from the center. He found the elder's still beating heart and cut it away, covered in blood, as he took both head and heart in hand and walked over to where his god lay on her side, breathing heavily from the night's exertion. He didn't say a word when he showed her his prizes. She looked at him balefully, and he bowed his head, fearing he offended her once again. But that fear waned when she reached out, and his offerings began to burn. Finally, a true sacrifice accepted by his God. He had done good work. He had done well for her. And as the fire burned down, he asked her what he ought to do. She turned her head, laying supine in the winter cold, and sighed. "I don't know, Michael," she said, sounding infinitely more exhausted than he'd ever heard her. "I think I'll just rest my eyes for a while." He dared not touch her with his hands, covered in elder blood, but he asked her if she wasn't freezing in the winter chill, if she didn't wish to go home, sleep in her own bed, after all she'd achieved that night. Her eyes fluttered. She did not respond. And when he looked at her once more, she seemed to have fallen asleep, right there in the street. Though he feared offending her, he couldn't just leave her there. Night would eventually turn to day, and they would find her, and the destruction the elder left behind. So he picked her up, and he carried her home.
You're listening to Hainai by Motsi Dapul.
Hey everyone, it's Motzi, creator and showrunner of the Hainai podcast. Hainai is a podcast produced by Motzi Dapul, Yoy Halago, and Alyssa Jimenez, and licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License.
This episode was co-produced by Jesse Goodsell and written and directed by Motzi Dapul. The role of Other Mary is played by Motzi Dapul.
If you'd like to chat with other listeners when this episode goes live, we do a live premiere every Sunday at 9 p.m. ET or Toronto time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HainaiPod. To help support the production of Hainai, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/HainaiPod. You'll get to be part of our early access program, where we release episodes 3 days early on Thursday at 9 p.m. ET or Toronto time. You can also get bonus video, audio, art, and much more. Speaking of Patreon, we'd love to give a special shout out to the following patrons for all their amazing support:
Pamela, Petra, Emily Cole, Maha, Sai B.A., Prinks Variety, Didi Chanak, Chandra, Tony Baloney, Nay, Pollo, Phoenix Luna, Kate Jordan, Sabine, Ben, Jess Snow, Nanette Dapul, Mika, Matt Upton, Anna, Sooks, Becca Terrier, Melissa, Flying Cabbage, Faye Fungi, Pablo Neurotic, Oster Kim, Megan, Jesse Goodsell, Malaya Light, and Victoria Goodwin.
Thank you for all your support. If you subscribe at the ATE tier or the $10 tier and above, you get bonus episodes, bonus content, the full B-sides, and you get your name shouted out on every episode in the credits, just like our wonderful supporters here. If you can't subscribe monthly, you have the option to buy us a milk tea on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/HainaiPod. Our ad-free Hainai album, which has our official music and full episodes from Act 1 and 2, is also available for both patrons and to purchase on our coffee shop. Check out our website, HainaiPod.com, for more info, and follow us on all our socials, on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky, and even our YouTube posts, at HainaiPod, for updates and more information, especially when we have special events. And as always, thank you, we love you, and hanggang sa muli.